Revealed, 5 haunting and bone-chilling night drive horror stories that will terrify you. The cool breeze carried an electric whisper as Jake, Emily, Marcus, Kayla, and Sophia piled into Jake's ancient SUV, laughter ringing in the night's stillness. They were just 5 friends, eager for one last adventure before college, but tonight wasn't just any drive. It was down the infamous Whispering Pines Road, infamous for ghostly tales and inexplicable accidents that turned Maplewood into a ghost town by night. The mere mention of the road conjured anxious shivers as they set off, leaving the comforting glow of streetlights behind, diving headfirst into shadowy uncertainty. Legends sprang to life in their chatter. Did you know Sarah Thompson died right here 15 years ago? They say her spirit is still wandering, searching for someone to blame, Marcus declared, his voice teasing yet uncertain. The others chimed in, sharing exaggerated stories and unsettling details, their bravado masking their own apprehensions. That's when they felt it, the air thickening with an unseen presence, a weight that settled in their chests. Emily took a shaky breath, shrugging off the fears that clung like cobwebs. But deep down, her heart was racing with insecurity about leaving her childhood behind, fears of her parents' looming expectations swirling in her mind. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the SUV's lights flickered ominously for the first time, triggering a collective gasp, but they brushed it off. Just shadows in the trees, right? Suddenly, a silence enveloped them. Kayla squirmed in her seat, her fingers trembling. What if it's more than stories? She glanced in the rearview mirror, her heart pounding as she thought she saw a fleeting shadow behind them. Was it just her imagination, or had they awakened something they were meant to ignore? Before they could spiral down that rabbit hole, Marcus, ever the skeptic, suggested they park in a rumored haunt, a clearing said to harness the spirits of the lost. The moment the engine died, the world around them breathed a chill so deep it squeezed their hearts tighter. They could sense it, creeping through the leaves, the whispers of the past, the weight of stories untold. As they sat in the eerie stillness, Emily's phone buzzed, lighting up the night like a firefly. It was a message from their group chat, a photo of their SUV taken from a nearby distance, yet no one was outside. Panic erupted. Kayla's voice shook as she suggested they leave, but the car refused. It was a sickening feeling, trapped in a cycle of fear and blame, just like the ghost tales they had once laughed off. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The air thickened as they felt unseen eyes pressing in around them. It was as if the forest breathed with them, alive with secrets they weren't ready to uncover. Was it Sarah seeking vengeance, or something darker, feeding off their unvoiced fears? The night had only just begun, and dread settled in like an unwelcome guest. Would they find the courage to confront their pasts and save themselves, or would the ghosts of Whispering Pines claim another group of friends, lost to the shadows forever? Everything shifted when the engine started sputtering as if it sensed their growing panic. A collective silence hung heavy in the air. Marcus banged his fist against the dashboard, trying to will the SUV to life. "Come on, don't do this!" he yelled, voice edged with desperation. The headlights flickered in and out, casting erratic shadows that danced on the trees around them. Kayla pressed her body deeper into her seat, eyes wide with fear. What if something really is out there? She whispered, more to herself than anyone else. The wind outside picked up, howling like a banshee through the branches, seeming to echo her words. Sophia, ever the brave one, decided enough was enough. "We should just get out and take a look around. It's probably just a glitch," she blurted out, trying to inject confidence into their spiraling dread. The moment those words left her mouth, a choking silence swallowed them whole. "Are you kidding?" Emily cried out, her voice trembling. "That's exactly what the stories warn us about." Marcus scoffed, but his bravado wavered. The flickering lights cast his face in a ghostly glow, making him look more terrified than he'd ever let on. Okay, Let us just think. It's probably the battery or something. We can just stay put for a bit. Jake fumbled with the keys, feeling an unsettling heat rise in his cheeks as he turned the ignition again, praying for a miraculous restart. Nothing but a pitiful chugging sound followed. We're stuck, he murmured. Groans erupted from the group, panic coursed through their veins. Sophia suggested they venture on foot. Together, we can check if there's a way out or someone who can help us. We're too paranoid. But as she spoke, Emily's phone buzzed again, a chilling text alert sliced through the night. They collectively froze, eyes wide and askew. It was another picture, this time from a different angle, revealing the clearing beneath a cold moon. Their SUV stood eerily still, but now a figure lurked in the foreground. Kayla leaned closer, squinting at the image. That's not one of us, is it? She shook like a leaf caught in a storm, fear evident in her glassy eyes. Stop it! It's a prank! Marcus shouted, but even he sounded less than convinced. Without a word, Emily pushed her door open. I can't just sit here. She took a hesitant step into the soft dirt. Something deep inside her screamed to retreat, yet her feet continued to move, compelled by an inexplicable pull. The forest seemed to inhale around them, the dense trees closing in like spectators at a grim performance. Suddenly, with a cacophony of sound, the night erupted. The branches rattled together, the wind howled louder than before, and then they heard it, a soft, haunting melody weaving its way through the air. It was like a lullaby, yet it carried a sinister edge, twisting around their hearts like fingers around a fragile throat. Emily! Jake yelled, but she was already lost in the echo of the song, deepening with every step she took. The rest scrambled after her, driven by instinct, but as each of them stepped onto the forest floor, an overwhelming sense of dread pushed against their backs. Just when they thought they might pull her back, a shriek pierced the air, a sharp, agonizing sound that stopped them in their tracks. It wasn't human. It wasn't anything alive, yet it cut through them like a knife. Run! Marcus screamed, but the shadowy figure revealed itself just then, bathed in moonlight, its eyes glimmered with malice. Time stilled, leaving just their ragged breaths and the relentless melody playing on, weaving tightly around them. Would they escape the grip of the haunted road, or had they awakened a fate worse than death? As the darkness closed in, the forest answered back with an overwhelming fury, ready to swallow them whole. But as Emily turned to flee, the shadows reached out and the night swallowed her scream. A cold shock of reality crashed down on Marcus as he realized Emily was gone. Her silhouette, just a moment ago filling the space by the dim light of the SUV, had vanished into the shadows. Heart racing, he stumbled back, pulling Kayla and Jake with him, their faces a mask of panic. The air grew thick, each breath a struggle against the suffocating terror wrapping around them. Did you see where she went? Kayla gasped, her voice quaking. They all knew she hadn't just disappeared. Something had taken hold of her, drawing her into the darkness. The haunting melody swirled around them, echoing with a cruel laugh, each note coated in despair. Emily! Jake called out, his voice betraying a blend of fear and fury. Come back! Seconds turned into eternity. The forest felt alive, every rustle, every whisper of wind, every footfall amplifying their dread. Each glance into the suffocating shadows sent shards of ice into Marcus' veins. They could still hear the faint echo of Emily's steps, fading, swallowed by the abyss. Stay together! Marcus shouted, adrenaline sharpening his focus. They had to find her. Panic surged through him as he grasped Sophia's arm tightly. We can't lose anyone else. The four of them moved as one, every rustle in the underbrush bending their nerves tighter. Kayla barely held back tears, fearing the worst, her mind racing through the possibilities. What could be lurking in the depths of the forest? A sudden crash shattered the tense silence. All heads snapped toward the sound, eyes wide. It came from further along the narrow path. We have to check it out, Sophia urged, but even her voice trembled. Are you crazy? We should go back to the car. Jake argued, glancing at the dark expanse around them. No. We can't leave her, Sophia insisted, her eyes blazing with determination. As they took hesitant steps forward, night creatures stilled, recounting the sound of their hurried breaths. "All right, but let us be quick," Marcus said, voice firm despite the quivering in his chest. "Just be quiet." They crept deeper into the forest, shadows dancing like specters, stretching under the pale moonlight. A low growl rumbled somewhere nearby, and they froze, heartbeats thunderous in their ears. "Did you hear that?" Kayla whispered, picking up on the tension everyone felt. "Yeah," Jake croaked, eyes darting. "It's not far." And then they saw it like a bolt of lightning illuminating the night, another flash of movement in the distance. They hurried toward it, calling out Emily's name, desperate for a response, but all that echoed back was the disturbing lullaby, now rising in intensity as if mocking their efforts. "Wait," Marcus halted, spotting something on the ground, a necklace, shining faintly in the moonlight. "This is Emily's." He bent to pick it up, but before he grasped it, something slithered through the shadows behind him. A flash of eyes drenched in malevolence stared back at him. Marcus woke up from his stupor and yelled, "Run!" They bolted down the winding path, fear propelling them forward. The growl morphed into a hiss, hot breath chasing them. Thoughts of Emily vanished in the wake of survival. Hurdles from the branches lash out like claws toward their retreating forms. Just when they thought they had outrun the terror, an unnatural howl broke through the night, a chilling sound that tore through the fabric of reality itself. And then came the silence again, thick and unnatural. "Marcus?" Jake panted, glancing back. "What now?" As the dreadful quiet descended, the shadows thickened and shifted around them. Something dreadful was about to happen. In the distance, a figure emerged, too familiar, yet too distorted. It couldn't be time hung suspended again, rendering their breaths shallow. Would they find Emily? Or had they all unwittingly stepped into a nightmare far worse than they could ever imagine? The forest watched, ready to snatch their fates, hungry for more. The ground beneath them trembled, and with a bone-chilling whisper, the trees seemed to beckon what truth lay at the heart of the ominous woods. The figure stepped forward, illuminated by a ravenous moon that cast eerie shadows against the trees. As it came closer, Marcus felt his heart thud harder in his chest, each beat thunderous and desperate. It was Emily, but twisted. Her once familiar face was now a mask of pain and confusion, her eyes darting wildly, as if trapped in a nightmare. "Emily!" he shouted, reaching toward her, but the moment the name left his lips, she recoiled as if stung. "No! Stay away!" she screamed, her voice breaking. The melody they heard earlier escalated, an undulating tune of despair, wrapping around them like a serpent. "Emily, please!" Kayla's voice trembled, tears glistening in her eyes. "What is happening to you?" The air changed, heavy with something dark that seeped in from the forest. Emily's mouth opened, a soundless scream escaping like an echo trapped in a bottle. Her body trembled, and for a moment it looked as if she were about to break free from whatever held her captive. "Run!" Marcus shouted again, but it was too late. With a quick flick of movement, Emily's body tensed. She lunged toward them, her eyes now glowing with a malevolent light. Leaves rustled violently in the wind, a cacophony that drowned out the sound of their racing hearts. The shadows surged alongside her, creeping forward like tendrils of darkness. "Marcus!" Jake yelled, panic cracking his voice. "What do we do?" "We split up," Marcus shouted back, instinct taking over. "Try to draw her away. She needs time to..." But before he could finish, Emily twisted her body, her face contorting into a grotesque grin. "You shouldn't have come here," she hissed, the words slithering through the air like a poison. It wasn't Emily anymore. Something malevolent had replaced her essence. The world warped around them. Each direction looked the same, every path drowned in shadow. Moonlight flickered through the branches, giving their situation a surreal quality. Were they dreaming? Or had they stepped into a different plane of existence? Sophia ran first, darting into the underbrush. "We need to find a way out," she cried as she disappeared into the darkness. The forest swallowed her whole. "Wait! Come back!" Kayla shouted, voice fraying under the weight of fear. Jake pulled her back, eyes wide. No! Stay together. We can make it if we stay unified. Marcus felt the pressure of their moment shatter, desperation boiling beneath their surface. He couldn't lose anyone else. We need to fight. We have to save her. With renewed resolve, he sprinted after the glimmering figure of Emily, now barely visible as shadows enveloped her once more. He felt the monster's breath on his back, hot and rancid, urging him to flee. Emily! We love you! Fight it! He shouted, his voice echoing into the night, but all he got was silence. Then came a screech sharp and relentless. The last shred of hope knotted in his stomach as he felt the darkness close in around him. He stumbled, breath hitching. The forest pulsed with energy, shadows writhing. Behind him, he heard Kayla's small, terrified voice. Marcus, I can't see you. Panic surged anew. Stay close. He called back, desperation curling around his words. But then the shadows shifted again. Moving like liquid nightmare, they coiled around them. The whispering trees seemed to close in, trapping them in a web of dread thicker than the night itself. Just as he thought they were lost, a glimmer caught his eye. A faint light breaking through the trees, pulsing rhythmically, as if it held the answer to their prayers. Over there! He shouted, heart racing with renewed purpose. That light! We can make it! With renewed determination, they charged toward it, uncertainty and fear merging into raw adrenaline. But as they reached the edge of the clearing, they froze. Before them stood a massive shadowy form, towering and writhing. It wore Emily's likeness, twisted into a grinning visage of malice that sent tremors through the ground. Something primal scratched at the corners of Marcus' mind, a warning, a voice that urged him to flee. Run now! He ordered, bolting again, desperation hammering at his heels. But just when hope grazed his fingertips, the sinister laughter echoed once more from the depths of the woods, a sound that reverberated through him. A blinding light erupted behind them, and as Marcus turned, he saw the figure morph, delta of light fighting against the dark. Run! He exclaimed, but was it too late? What waited for them in that pulsing light? And what had they really awakened in those cursed woods? The shadows writhed like serpents, eager to drag them into the depths of despair. Marcus could feel the oppressive weight of the forest pulling him, tugging at his limbs with chilling fingers. The laughter, the mocking, sinister laughter continued, echoing in a way that made his skin crawl. Each beat of his heart synchronized with the pulsing rhythm of the light that beckoned him forward, urging him to escape the darkness. Kayla, Jake! He shouted, desperation flooding his voice. He turned toward the light, the source growing brighter, casting a halo against the night. The darkness recoiled slightly, as if it feared the illumination. But could they reach it before being consumed? As they took a step together, Emily's twisted form lunged at them, slashing through the air with unnatural speed. Marcus felt the icy breath of her possessed self sweep over him, and he stumbled, nearly falling. We can't let her get us. We need to push through. Marcus, we have to save her! Jake cried, his own voice trembling. We can't give up on Emily. Stop her! Get away from us! Kayla echoed, her eyes wide with terror as she struggled to keep her ground. They stood at the edge of hope and fear, a thin line separating them from salvation or doom. The darkness hissed, a slithering whisper weaving through the forest. Marcus could feel something dark coiling around his heart, something telling him that Emily was gone forever. Think! Emily used to love the light, remember? He shouted, urgency lacing through his words. She needs us to reach that light. We have to help her fight this. With each step, the shadows pressed in, breathing down their necks. Yet they moved forward, spurred on by the flickering beacon. The laughter morphed into frantic screams, mingling with the chilling cries of the night. It was chaos, a tempest of sound aimed to fracture their unity. Then it happened. An immense crash echoed through the trees, the ground shuddering beneath them as something large collided with the earth. Marcus took a glance back. A grotesque figure loomed, its face an endless patchwork of Emily's features, each more tormented than the last. It glared at them with hollow, soulless eyes. Go! I'll hold it back, Jake shouted, determination flaring in his voice. Get to that light. No! We can't split up, Kayla protested, her fear palpable. But Jake was already sprinting towards the monstrous shadow, ready to confront the embodiment of their friend's pain. Trust him, Marcus yelled, feeling the urgency swell within him. We can't waste this chance. With hearts pounding, Marcus and Kayla plunged forward, driven by a force that demanded their desperate escape. The pulsing light grew more intense, illuminating the path before them, casting long shadows that danced across the forest floor. Almost there Marcus breathed, pushing through the thickets, brushing aside branches that clawed at him like fingers. Suddenly, Kayla stumbled, caught by a stray vine, and fell hard. Marcus! She screamed, struggling against the darkness as it encroached. Hold on! I'm coming! He yelled, his body erupting with adrenaline. He dashed back, grabbing her hand just as the shadows stretched toward her like greedy spirits. Please, Marcus! Kayla cried, tears mixing with the dirt on her cheeks. He pulled her to her feet, the light shimmering ahead like a guardian angel promising safety. Together, we'll break through. As they surged forward, the malevolent laughter roared, now shifting into a jagged screech, a sound that reverberated with despair and rage. The darkness clawed at their necks, a palpable sensation that made their breath hitch. But as they closed in on that radiant light, the forest crackled with energy, and then silence. The light enveloped them, a warm embrace that swallowed the shadows whole. But what lay beyond was still unseen. Did we make it? Kayla asked breathlessly, her voice uncertain, fear etched across her features. Marcus squeezed her hand tighter, his heart asking the same question. We have to know. Before they could step forward, a figure emerged from the light, shrouded in mystery and distortion. Welcome, it whispered, the voice a chilling echo of Emily's. You shouldn't have come back. What had they awakened? And more importantly, could they escape a fate entwined with the darkness that refused to let them go? The figure stepped closer, a haunting glow enveloping it. Marcus squinted, trying to make sense of the distorted shape before him. Was this really Emily? The familiarity was drowned in an unsettling aura. The eyes, dark and unyielding, held an emptiness that twisted Marcus's stomach into knots. What do you mean? He asked, his voice strained. We've come to help you. The figure laughed softly, a sound that was both eerily comforting and terrifying, sending shivers down his spine. Help me? You think you can save me? I'm no longer the Emily you knew. Kayla's breath hitched beside him. Fight it, Em. We're here for you. Her voice trembled, a fragile thread woven through the growing tension. The silhouette shifted, and the shadows around them stirred in response, snapping like angry vipers. You think love can break the bonds of darkness? You were always so naive. The voice twisted, morphing into a cacophony of whispers, mocking their desperation. Suddenly, tendrils of shadow shot forward like striking snakes, curling around Marcus and Kayla. The darkness tightened its grip, squeezing the air from their lungs. Panic clawed at Marcus's heart as he struggled against the weight of despair. No! We won't let you take her! He shouted, fighting against the pull of the shadows. He focused on the flickering light, digging deep to find that flicker of courage. But the shadows laughed, drowning out his thoughts. You've awakened what should remain asleep. Kayla jerked beside him, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked face. Please, Emily. Fight. We believe in you. In response, the figure transformed, limbs stretching grotesquely into twisted shadows. It lunged at them, the air filled with a chilling shriek that echoed through the fabric of the forest. Marcus instinctively stepped in front of Kayla, shielding her with his body. Keep moving! He yelled, adrenaline surging as he whipped around, dragging Kayla with him. They stumbled deeper into the light, feeling its warmth against their skin, but the malevolent force was relentless, clawing at their heels. Just as Marcus thought they had gained ground, the shadows surged forward, spilling over the ground like ink, wrapping around their ankles, pulling them down. Help is futile! The creature cried, its voice now a chorus of voices entwined in anguish. Think, Marcus! We can't give in! He heard Kayla shout, face wrought with determination. Her voice fought through the din, urging him forward. With the last remnants of his strength, he thrashed against the creeping darkness. Emily! Remember who you are! Each word was a lifeline, reaching into the abyss to pull back the friend they once knew. For a moment, the shadows faltered, the figure swaying in the light. A flicker of recognition crossed its twisted face, and for a heartbeat, Marcus saw a hint of the Emily they loved. A flicker and then it was gone, swallowed by rage. They pushed on, the light pulsing stronger now, gaining momentum. But the shadows howled, weaving a web of turmoil. With each step, the ground beneath them shivered, alive with a pulse of something dark and ancient. Then, out of the chaos, came a sudden rumble, a deep, visceral growl that resonated through the trees. The shadows recoiled, quivering as if terrified of whatever was coming. What now? Kayla whispered, eyes wide and searching. The ground cracked, splitting as a dark figure emerged on the periphery of the light, a guardian of shadows, birthed from their fears. Run! Marcus yelled, propelled by instinct as the creature lunged toward them, jaws gaping. They sprinted with all their might, hearts pounding like war drums, leaving the clutches of darkness behind. But the light flickered uncertainly, and behind them, the guardian roared, shaking the very air with its fury. Marcus couldn't shake the gnawing doubt gnawing at him. What if the light wasn't salvation, but a different kind of cage? They plunged into the unknown, questions swirling. Would they find peace beyond the veil of the light, or would it lead them deeper into the anguish they sought to escape? The forest loomed behind them, dark and hungry, and the darkness within it still breathed alive, waiting. Could they ever truly escape? And as they raced forward, a chilling realization struck Marcus. The voices in the wind were speaking again. You can't leave. She is ours now. The ground trembled beneath their feet as they sprinted blindly into the radiance. Marcus's chest heaved, each breath sharp with anxiety. Kayla's hands were tightly gripping his shirt, her nails digging into his skin, grounding him against the chaos. Faster! He urged, his voice barely above a hoarse whisper. They veered left, hoping the shadows would relent, but the guardian of darkness thundered behind them, hunting their every move. The light pulsed rhythmically, but it flickered like a dying flame. With each flicker, the shadows inched closer, clawing at their heels, taunting, threatening. She is ours now. The voices wrapped around Marcus like a noose, suffocating and chilling. A sudden wall of thorns emerged from the sides, trapping them. Marcus skidded to a halt, pulling Kayla with him. They were surrounded. Panic rose in his throat. What do we do? He gasped, sweat trickling down his brow, heart hammering in his ears. Kayla, searching, glanced up. There! The opening! A faint shimmer broke the darkness where the shadows receded momentarily. Go! Marcus shouted, lunging forward, but as they moved toward the glimmering escape, the guardian howled. The sound reverberated through the trees, rattling Marcus's bones. A tremendous force collided with him, a dark mass slamming him to the ground. The breath whooshed out of him as Kayla screamed. Marcus! He felt her fingers slip from his grasp, panic flooding his senses. He struggled to rise, but the shadows clung to him, dragging him deeper into their cold embrace. Let her go! He bellowed, swiping at the tendrils that tightened around him like a vice. But the more he fought, the tighter they squeezed. He felt himself slipping, darkness pooling at the edges of his vision. Emily! He cried, grasping for a thread of hope, for any spark of the girl he once knew. The shadows responded with a roar, drowning out his voice. Just when he thought all was lost, a blinding light burst forth, illuminating the immediate darkness. It pierced through the veil, shattering the hold the shadows had over him. And then he saw her. Emily's figure began to materialize amidst the chaos, her eyes struggling against the dark tide. Marcus! She shouted, her voice cutting through the howlings around them. Fight, Marcus! You can break the chain! Unbelievable strength surged within him, igniting a fire to fight back. Clenching his fists, Marcus gritted his teeth and pulled hard against the shadows with every ounce of willpower. I'm coming for you, Emily! and suddenly, the grip loosened. He lunged toward Emily, her eyes glistening with an inner light that seemed to draw him closer. Marcus! Kayla's voice broke through. I'm here! He turned. Kayla was struggling too, shadows creeping toward her from the sides. He couldn't let them take her. Hold on! He yelled. The shimmer still shone ahead, and he could see the faint outline of escape. Hoping against hope, he threw himself toward it. In that moment, the darkness recoiled, almost fearful of the light. They surged forward together, hands grasping each other like a lifeline. Keep running! Marcus urged as they fought onward, hope now blossoming amidst the chaos. But as they came closer to the light, a shadow shot past him, wrapping around Kayla. She screamed, a heart-wrenching sound that echoed in the depths of the forest. No! His body hurtled backward, instinct pulling him to her, but the darkness was quick. The Guardian lunged, ripping his connection to Kayla apart, forcing her into the depths of shadow. Marcus! She cried, her voice swallowed by the darkness. He stumbled, dread clawing at his insides. Would he ever see her again? Gritting his teeth, he squeezed his eyes shut. Focus! There had to be a way to save them both. The light flickered weakly, and as desperation clawed at him, a whisper snaked through the air. The light's secret will reveal itself. What did it mean? A heartbeat passed as doubt settled in. Was hope slipping away? Marcus stood at the edge of the unforgiving dark, the flickering light ahead a mere glimmer of promise. He could feel the shadows creeping forward again, hungry and relentless, but he had to know what would the light reveal. Fear coursed through Marcus as the shadows lurked close, whispering bitter promises of despair. He could almost feel their cold breath against his neck. The flickering light yawned ahead, a fragile beacon fighting back against the encroaching dark. It has to mean something, he murmured, as if it could hear him, as if it answered in the language of light. Marcus took a step closer, his heart thudding, every instinct screaming to flee. But he wouldn't run. Not again. He felt it deep in his gut, the possibility of hope, the flicker that promised something greater lay beyond the chaos. He reached for that light, extending his hand as if he could caress the warmth. The shadows shuddered, recoiling slightly as if they were alive, sensing his defiance. Gritting his teeth, he gathered his strength, pushing against the darkness that tugged at him like a hungry beast. I won't let you take her! He shouted, voice echoing into the void. Suddenly, the light surged, spilling over him, filling him with a radiant warmth. Memories flooded back, Emily's laughter, carefree days that felt like a lifetime ago. Sweet moments that bound them together, giving him strength. Fight! He roared, throwing himself into the light, feeling the shadows writhe away as the brilliance enveloped him. But the shadows weren't done. They swarmed, creeping around his ankles, pulling him down again. No! Not again! Marcus twisted, trying to break free, but they clamped tighter, dragging him toward the abyss. Emily! His cry was desperate, a rawness clawing at his throat. Help me, please! In the heart of the chaos, something shifted. A rush of energy erupted from deep within him as the light pulsed again. He saw Emily's face, clearer this time, her features illuminated with a fierce determination he had never seen before. You are stronger than them! She shouted, her voice resonating like the bark of a mighty tree. You must believe it! With every ounce of his will, Marcus focused on that belief. The shadows scrambled in confusion, and he felt a surge of something powerful rising. It was more than just a physical strength. It was a connection, something deeper than he could explain. He pushed against the shadows with his mind, the force of their dark grasp weakening as he envisioned a barrier, a radiant wall of light protecting him. That's when he felt it, a small burst of warmth in his chest, a tether to Kayla. She was still there, somewhere, possibly fighting her own battle against despair. Kayla! He called out, hoping against hope that she could hear him. The shadows hissed, angry and relentless, rushing to smother that spark. You think you can defy us? They sneered, a chorus of voices layered in contempt. She belongs with us. No! He yelled, the word bursting from him like wildfire. They'll never have her. With rage propelling him, he pushed deeper into the light. Brightness erupted around him, spilling into every corner of darkness, the shadows screaming, writhing, exploding into harmless wisps that faded like smoke. But then, just as he thought he could break through completely, there were two indistinguishable forms gleaming in the darkness before him. He could barely breathe as dread clawed at his throat. Were they innocent souls, or just echoes of the shadows pleading in disguise? In that gut-turning moment, he met their eyes. "Kayla?" he breathed out. But something felt off, something shifted in the air, a terrifying anticipation, an undeniable question hanging heavily on his heart. And that when it hit him, a realization so chilling it froze him in place. What if saving them would cost him everything? What if he had to choose? Marcus stood trembling on the edge of a decision that could seal their fates. Could the light truly reveal its secret, or was it a trap set by the very darkness they fought against? And with a sudden surge of obscured power, he needed to know who or what would emerge on the other side of that shimmering veil. Marcus took a deep breath, clenching his fists again. The moment had come. As Marcus stepped closer to the light, his body buzzed with uncertainty. The flickering glow was stronger now, almost pulsating. It beckoned him, as if whispered promises of salvation hung thick in the air. He couldn't shake the nagging fear that for every ounce of rescue it offered, there was a price. The two forms loomed before him, so familiar yet distant, their outlines shifting like smoke. Kayla, Emily, their names slipped from his lips in a whisper, trembling from the weight of what was at stake. He took a step forward, each breath heavy with the fear of the unknown. The light seemed to shimmer, revealing not just their faces, but shadows lurking just beyond their features, flickers of doubt, glimmers of the darkness that threatened to swallow them whole. "What do I do?" he asked the air around him, desperate for guidance. But silence wrapped around him, thick and unyielding. As he inched closer, the shadows slinked back. Was that a sign of weakness? Or the calm before a storm? The two women extended their hands, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like home. Yet, an icy dread prickled at the back of his neck. The darkness surged, angry and shrill, clawing at him with icy fingers, demanding his attention. "Choose!" The shadows hissed, their voices congealing into a cacophony of malice. "Choose, or lose everything." The words echoed in his mind, twisted and taunting. He stared into Kayla's eyes, searching for a flicker of hope. "I won't leave you," he choked out, but the shadows pressed closer. Emily's expression mirrored anguish, her eyes a tempest of fear. "Marcus," she called, her voice strained. "You have to decide. We can't stay here." The urgency was palpable, urging him forward. The light cast a path through the gloom, yet dread snaked through his heart like a vice. He felt the weight of their fate hanging on the edge of his choice. But what if his voice trailed off, the thought too horrific to voice? What if by choosing one, he condemned the other? No! The shadows surged forth, furious, flinging tendrils of darkness toward him. Panic clawed at his mind, forcing him to act. He had to pick the light or the dark. He had to choose between love and friendship. "Please." Kayla's voice melted into a plea, stretching across the distance like a lifeline, but doubt clawed at Marcus, suffocating him in confusion. In the swirl of emotions, memories of laughter and warmth fought against the encroaching chill of despair. Every happy moment felt like an echo, a memory desperately trying to surface beneath the darkness looming around him. With a roar that matched the shadow's wrath, Marcus exhaled, clarity washing over him. "I choose light." The words burst forth, raw and unfiltered. The moment he spoke, the air ignited, radiance exploding from his chest like a supernova. The two figures flinched back, washed in blinding light. They screamed, whether in joy or terror, he couldn't tell. The shadows shrank away, shrieking in rage, dissolving under the brilliance he now commanded. And then, just like that, the light dimmed, revealing a single path laid before him. But he wasn't alone. The forms of Kayla and Emily solidified beside him, reluctantly tethered to this world he had born of light. Yet, as he moved closer, relief washed over him. The two women looked more like each other than ever before, shades of identity blending into one another. Why do you look the same? He asked, confusion erupting in his gut. Their heads turned simultaneously, a chilling unity coursing through them. Because, they said in unison, the darkness knows your heart as desire. As they reached for him, the darkness swirled ominously, warning him of choices yet to come. The glistening path before him wavered, a bridge to destiny, or demise. Stay with us, they whispered. And in that flicker of time, Marcus felt the pulse of a singular fear tighten around him. What if the real battle had only just begun? The shimmering light glowed on the horizon, revealing both potential and peril, beckoning him forth while shadows danced in anticipation behind him. What lay ahead? The moment of truth was just around the corner. Marcus stood before the shimmering light, a mix of fear and hope swirling inside him. The comforting warmth beckoned him a sanctuary far away from the shadows that threatened to consume everything he loved. But as Kayla and Emily stood beside him, their forms entwined with the darkness, he felt his heart race with confusion and dread. Was the light truly a way out, or merely a trap? You made your choice, Marcus, the figures said in unison, their voices echoing, not just in sound but in his mind. A chilling unity emanated from them, an unexplainable bond that felt simultaneously enticing and horrifying. The shadows writhed around them, like snakes poised to strike. Marcus swallowed hard. What do you mean? He pressed, his voice barely a whisper, as if louder words would shatter the fragile reality surrounding him. You must embrace your fears to free us, they replied, still in duet. Only then can we escape this curse. The darkness twisted around him, hot and suffocating. It egged him on, whispering promises laced with deceit, revealing secrets buried deep within him. Wisps of his past rolled forward, a blend of joy and pain, the laughter of friends, and the growing shadows of regrets. I have to fight this, he breathed out. Turn away, Kayla urged, her eyes glistening with the light's radiance that pulsed around them. The darkness thrives on doubt. You've already chosen. But Marcus hesitated, the shadows snaking closer, thrumming with despair. I'm terrified of losing both of you. What if this is a trick? He said, voice trembling as he struggled to meet their eyes. Focus on us. On the love we share. Emily shouted, her voice breaking with conviction. It's stronger than this darkness. You can banish it. The shadows recoiled at their words, trembling as Marcus's heart surged with newfound resolve. He felt the warmth of the light surrounding him tighten like a comforting embrace, filling him with purpose. It surged through him, much like a flame igniting in the deepest dark. I can do this. We can do this. He shouted, drawing strength from every memory of laughter, warmth, and unforgettable moments spent together. With that, he leaped toward the light, propelled by the bonds of friendship and love. The warmth enveloped him, growing hotter, stronger, radiating energy that illuminated every part of him. Stand with me, he exclaimed, reaching for their hands, knowing that this wasn't just about him anymore. They needed to unite against the consuming shadows. As fingertips brushed, an explosion of brilliance erupted, the light consuming the darkness like wildfire. But the shadows roared, rallying against the light with primal rage, clawing and tearing. Dark figures emerged, forming into distorted images of those who had laughed and loved before the very faces that haunted him. Do you see the cost? They cried. You will never be rid of us. What is lost can be found again. Marcus shouted with all his might as the light surged deeper, propelling forward with a fierce intensity that purged the darkness around them. Fight! Emily cried, and Kayla echoed her charge, tearing through the shadows like paper. With their combined strength, Marcus felt the cord of despair unraveling. Never! He shouted back with furious determination. You have no hold on us. The shadows retreated, screeching as the pulsating light expanded, swallowing everything whole. Marcus pushed through, every ounce of his being wrapped around the singular truth love would conquer over fear. Finally, with one last push, the shadows erupted, dissolving into wisps of smoke, as twilight broke into dawn. Light flooded the clearing, washing over them, illuminating the truth of who they were. The silhouettes of Emily and Kayla solidified, freed from their dark prisons, their forms glowing with life. They stood together, trembling but unharmed, surrounded by the remnants of a haunting past that had sought to claim them. Marcus's heart soared with relief, the shadows finally laid to rest. "We made it," he breathed. Turning back, the path they had traversed shimmered with glowing memories of friendship and courage. The echoes of laughter resurrected in the whispering trees surrounding them. But they knew, deep down, that the whispering danger hadn't fully dissipated. The forest held many secrets, and it always would. Yet, now armed with the knowledge that love and bravery united them, they felt ready to face whatever lay beyond. "Let us go home," Kayla smiled through tears of joy, her hands still interlaced with Marcus's. "No more fears," Emily added, her spirit burning bright. As they turned toward the sun rising in the distance, each took a step forward, hearts aligned. And just like that, with one another at their sides, they ventured out of the dark into the radiance of a new dawn. A future awaited them, one filled with hope and the promise of adventures yet to come. Join them, won't you? Because the tale is never really over. Make sure to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and support us. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.